What do you do when you've stepped away from your content and now coming back feels harder than staying silent? Have you ever taken a break, intentional or not, and found yourself stuck in this space between wanting to show up and not knowing how or how to start? Maybe you've been telling yourself you need to come back properly. Maybe you feel behind. Maybe you think you owe people an explanation. I totally get it. Getting back into the swing of creating content after having a break, whether intentional or not, can be difficult. So, if you want to get back into creating content but haven't known how, or you keep feeling like you need to explain yourself, this episode is going to be for you. I'll be showing you how it's possible to get back into the swing of creating content with joy again, without feeling like you need to maybe drink 3 Red Bulls or 3 coffees or set aside hours of your precious time. It's all about reconnection. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this week's episode of the Content with Heart podcast. I hope you are doing well and enjoying the new look format of this podcast. I really wanted to speak to getting back into the swing of things this episode, or perhaps rediscovering the motivation after being absent for a while, because I hear so often how February or even March is the new January for online business owners. So I really want to help you get back into the rhythm of creating content. I have to say that whilst I was consistent with my podcast, my socials were not so. And my emails towards the end of 2025 were a little bit wobbly in terms of consistency. So I know what it's like to feel absent. But breaks are common, whether they're intentional or whether they're not intentional. But it's your absence from creating content that creates the friction, and it's the meaning that we attach to it. So let's talk about that today. Time away from creating content in your business happens for so many reasons. And I really want you to embrace the fact that we have different seasons of life, different energy, different types of clarity, different capacity. All of those impact our ability to A, show up for ourselves, and B, show up for our business. Breaks are totally normal in business. I want to really emphasize that. And I don't want you to think that you have to keep going, you have to push through. That's not what having a business is all about for us heart-led entrepreneurs. It's about service and how we can do that in conjunction with our life. It's really difficult, I can see, for women in particular who are holding space in their life for a lot of other things. Okay. So it's totally normal. And I know that coming back or restarting often feels harder than the stopping itself. There's this kind of like internal pressure that builds and builds and builds the longer the pause goes on. And, we end up having thoughts like, I should have been more consistent, or I need to explain myself. And this pressure keeps us stuck in waiting or indecision rather than taking that opportunity to reach out and reconnect with our beautiful audience, with the people we are here to serve. So the problem is rarely stopping creating content itself. It's rarely that. It's more the story that we create about the pause and the story that we create about restarting our content creation process. But the thing is, the longer that we sit in this idea, this narrative, the heavier and harder content becomes. And this doubt then creates the silence, and the silence creates more doubt, and it becomes this vicious circle. And suddenly content really feels unsafe instead of being supportive, because that's what it's there for, to support you and your business. So I think that there is a real opportunity here, and I hope that you embrace it today if you've been feeling like this, for a different path back into creating content, just like I did with this podcast. And to be able to do this in a way that really honors your season of life. And I feel like this is so important. The season of life where you are right now, it's neither good nor bad. It just is what it is. And once we acknowledge that, then we know that sustainable content requires knowing how to return and with how much content to create. So here's what I want you to think if you're feeling a little bit stuck at the moment. The belief that you need a big comeback, something amazing to return to your audience, is really unnecessary. It's like this constraint we place on ourselves that it needs to be big and it needs to be heard and it needs to be loud. But what if you don't want to share the reason? And what if the reason doesn't really matter in the scheme of things anyway? You don't owe anyone an explanation unless it's part of your story. Like my podcast comeback is part of my story. But you need to remember that your audience isn't there waiting, ready to judge you. They're not going to unfollow. They're not going to unsubscribe just because you weren't there for the last month or two. And if they do, well, isn't that great? You don't need them in your life anyway. Sometimes we think of content like a streak, like, I don't know, does anyone do Duolingo? I don't, because I think that I would just get too totally obsessed with it. There's this idea of a streak. So it's, how many days in a row can you actually practice? And content, we often think of as the same way as this streak, that if we break, oh, well, okay, can't create any more content anymore. But it's just something that you've paused. And I'm sure that you have friends that you don't see for a while, but can pick up the relationship whenever and wherever. Like time has never passed. And if we think about content the same way, that we're reconnecting with someone who we really, really love working with, we really, really enjoy being around, then it's less about momentum, it's less about consistency, and it's more about resuming a relationship. So I want to plant this idea with you that starting your content again isn't about making a statement or making an announcement. It's simply just resuming a conversation or coming back to a relationship. So if you've had a break from content and you're looking to get back into the swing of things, perhaps just start with that simple thought shift of starting again to continuing the conversation or picking it up from where you left off. So how do we actually do this, Mel? And good question. I'm going to give you a few practical ideas here on how you can easily move back into creating content again after a break. And the first idea is to, and I've already mentioned this, let go of the need to explain. You are allowed to simply return. Most audiences are not tracking your posting or your publishing or your email schedule. They don't realize. And if you want to acknowledge that break, just keep it simple. Create a meaning around it for your audience or use it as an analogy for what you do. Your absence here does not require justification. The second idea is to choose one small, simple step. And we can do this through minimum viable content. So go back to episode 167. I feel like I've almost mentioned this in every single podcast episode. But episode 167 will give you an idea on how I used it in my business to save my sanity. And this is not about having a full strategy ready to go. It's not about having a end-to-end content plan for your social media ready to go. It's just one small act of visibility, sending one email, posting one thought, sharing one behind-the-scenes moment, whatever it is. All you need to do is ask yourself what feels easy today, right now, what feels safe for me to do right now, and what feels doable today. Idea number 3 is returning to familiar ground. I think that when we have a break, we often think that we need to do something really, really different. We need to show up on a different platform. We need to try different things or new things. It's not necessarily the case. Go back to the platform or the format that feels most natural and most easy for you. So podcast, if speaking feels easy, email, if intimacy feels like the way that you want to go, or a blog or article, if your writing really flows. When we remove that need for doing something new, we reduce the resistance, and that's what it's all about. The fourth thing is to focus on service here, not yourself. And I know that I talk a lot about, being more you in your content and how you are really important when it comes to your content. But when we focus on that too much, we internalize all of the stories that we've made up about creating content. So shift your focus from what will they think of me to what might someone need to hear today. And when we focus on service rather than ourselves, it helps us to dissolve our self-consciousness about coming back with our content. Now, the last idea is that I want you to trust, and this is really, really difficult, but I want you to trust That reconnection with the people you are here to serve will eventually build your confidence back up. So confidence does not come before action. So I can't be confident about lifting heavy weights in the gym until I start actually lifting heavy weights in the gym. And I go, hang on. I start small and I go, hang on a second. I can do this. I can do this. I can do heavier. And I add weights and add weights and add weights. And before you know it, my confidence is really snowballing. Confidence with your content is the same. It comes after those small, safe repetitions, just like lifting. If I started at 100 kilos straight away, I would probably hurt myself and I would definitely break my confidence because I wouldn't be able to do it straight up. But if I started at those smaller levels, like the 60 kilos, the 70 kilos, and work my way up, it's going to increase my confidence and show me that I can do hard things. The first step always feels awkward. My first lift in the gym every week always feels a little bit hard and a little bit awkward, but the second will feel lighter. And I just want you to understand that the same thing can happen with your content. You're rebuilding that rhythm, not trying to prove your worth, basically. So to kind of round this out, I don't think that there is any correct way to come back after a break. For me, coming back to content after my break over the summer holidays meant changing the look of my podcast, but also changing how I feel about it, making it less polished, more me. But I just want to say here, you don't need to go to such great lengths to change everything in order to feel comfortable creating content again. Just remember those small steps. I actually recently received an email from someone who I hadn't heard from in a really, really long time. And my first thought wasn't, why hasn't she been consistent or where has she been? It was, oh, it's so nice to hear from her. And I love the idea of simply allowing your content to speak to what feels true right now, not what was missed or justifying your absence. Just choosing that one email, the one post, the one thought is all that it's going to take to get going again. Just really allow it to be imperfect, unfinished if you need to, and just hit publish. Your audience really wants to hear from you, so please don't keep them waiting any longer. Now, if you feel like this episode is perhaps calling you out with what you've been thinking or doing recently, I'd love for you to take a moment to look introspectively with these questions and journal on them, or simply just think about your answers right now. Number 1, what makes coming back to content feel heavy or hard for me right now? 2 is, what do I feel I need to justify or explain? And where did that belief come from? And number 3 is, what would it look like to trust myself as I reconnect with the people I serve? Now, sit with these questions if you need to. It's not something that you need to act on immediately, but just know that the break that you've had from content is a season. It happened for a reason, and that does not need to be overanalyzed. It's time to get back into it. But also know that when you choose to act, it will be the right thing. It will be the right time. It'll be the right way. Simply because I know that you are built for connection. And that's exactly what your content does. It's a conversation, a rekindling of a flame rather than like this big announcement or big performance. And if you need some reassurance that you can be more you in your business and your content, make sure that you visit the show notes to get a copy of my book, The Power of Content. It has a super simple framework that will allow you to come back when your content is feeling slow or heavy. Okay, that's it for today's episode, but I really want to leave you with the idea that coming back after having a break in your content isn't about that big fanfare. It's not about explaining yourself. It's not about providing reasons. It was simply a break. And now it's time to resume the conversation with heart always.